The gig economy is here. We grab to work, we food panda our lunches, we Cowdim our fix it up, and we Airbnb our accommodation. How people live, work, spend their money, and obtain services has changed dramatically over the past decade. Being hyper-connected has increased communication and has opened up new ways to make and to spend money. Picking up a gig or a temporary work engagement is as easy as making plans for dinner or, for some of you, finding a date. The so-called gig economy is altering the way people view and perform work. The arising question is, are countries ready to respond with innovative policies and programs? Hi, I'm Daniel Rahman, and this is Marcomm. My guest today is Ms. Shireen Dato Abdul Ghani, the co-founder and CEO of GigX, which calls itself the Future of Work platform. And today, we'll be discussing global and local opportunities for Malaysia's gig economy. Shireen, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Daniel.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good, thank you.
Well, thanks for being with us. Let's start. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your experiences, and what drives you.
Okay, I've been looking at the talent space for a couple of years now as a professional, and as well because I am a talent and I was beneficiary of a lot of good sort of development, leadership and all that sort of shaped me the person that I am today. So looking at the talent space and looking at the gig economy and how that sort of marries is somewhat a natural sort of space for me, because I feel very passionately about people, about human development.
And you're of course being very humble here. You were also the former CEO of Talent Corp.
Yes, I was.
Which focuses on talent development.
Yep.
Tell us what made you transition from that to the gig economy.
Okay, so the transition has been interesting because at Talent Corp, the time that I was there, we looked at policies, we looked at strategies and the direction as a country. What do we do with our human capital? What do we do with our talent? So that then Malaysia is a very competitive place for businesses. Because at the end of the day, for a business to thrive, it's about the talent.
Right.
It's about the human capital that they have. So that was an interesting, hard work that we did in Talent Corp, looking at those kind of interventions and programs that puts our talent on the map, so to speak.
Right.
And the strategy to actually make Malaysia the talent hub for the region.
Right.
And we are very attractive for all sorts of people who want to come and work and live and grow here.
Right. So looking at the policy and kind of like the larger talent landscape as a whole, what were the challenges that you saw in Malaysia with regards, that motivated you to explore this gig economy?
I think there is a gap. When we look at how we connect with talent, a lot of the practices and the policies in the country is a little bit behind.
Okay.
If you look at the Western world or even more developed economies, they have approached work in a very dynamic way. Simply because now we live in a, like you said earlier, hyper-connected world.
Right.
The digital economy is driving a lot of changes. So when I moved out of Talent Corp and set up GigX Global, is actually to look at how we use technology as an enabler to then allow talent to work and also have a form of flexibility.
Right.
The gig economy is a very beautiful place to actually start something where you have a marketplace of professionals.
And aside from looking at what other countries are doing and being more advanced than us, what were the problems that you saw here? Because youth unemployment is an issue in Malaysia, maybe even a bit of market saturation. Were these some of the problems which you saw which required a bit of a kick up for
Yeah.
the gig economy sector?
I think what's critical is that we have so much potential. We have a fantastic sort of diversity of talent, people from very young all the way to very senior people. But where there is a gap, where the issues or the problems were, we don't have a mechanism to actually unlock that potential.
Right.
Right? And your talent is sometimes locked in an environment of a traditional company
Right.
for many, many years, but their talent is not being tapped.
So could you share with us then kind of examples of the gig work
Yeah.
space in Malaysia?
Yeah. So what you just mentioned earlier are very transactional type of work.
Okay.
So the Food Panda, we're very familiar. Your Grab drivers and all that. So they do the task-based transactional work.
Okay.
Where we see there is a potential and where there is room to grow
Right.
is the professionals who now go into gig economy, simply because they are highly skilled, they're high value talent.
Right.
And they have something very unique to offer to businesses or to companies.
Right.
On the flip side of the demand side, which is the companies also have a need for this kind of talent,
Right.
but they don't naturally have permanent positions for them.
Right.
Right. So then the sweet spot is that how do we create
How
the
do you connect them?
marketplace that connects them?
All right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Shireen, for that. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more questions right after this.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Marketing Communications. My guest today is Shireen Dato Abdul Ghani, the co-founder and CEO of the GigX platform. Just before the break, she's telling us how the platform is about finding a sweet space between the supply, i.e. professional gig workers, and the demand, which is companies which need the services but may not have full-time positions for them. Shireen, speaking about this, the World Economic Forum in its Future of Jobs report 2018 said that there are about 70 million jobs that will disappear to disruptions in the fourth industrial revolution, but there will be about 130 million created. Now, what opportunities arise for gig workers in this space?
So if you look at traditional roles, so a lot of it is driven by technology, so tech talent, people with data analytics expertise, data science, software developers and all that. So that's driving the high value talent.
Right.
So that's one sector. But if you go across, we see a lot of professionals who can design strategies,
Right.
who support companies or even SMEs who want to grow into different markets, but they don't necessarily have the capacity internally. So they need to look out. And individual or independent talent with this kind of expertise would then provide those kind of or work and guidance and strategies.
Right. So let's talk about industry.
Yeah.
There is a perception that gig workers are low-wage earners or not as professional. You've debunked that with what you said earlier.
Yeah.
But some even may be because of this kind of bias towards the skills sector.
Yeah.
So what is GigX doing in order to dispel this negative notion and to persuade stakeholders that the gig economy is actually very vibrant and viable?
Yes, it is. Only Malaysia, perhaps because it's very new with regards to professionals in the gig economy. People understand, like I said earlier, the transactional type. And that's actually 9% of the total population of people on gig economy.
Right, okay.
When we studied the other countries,
So it's only 9%.
professionals who do gig work are about 20 to 30%. But in Malaysia, we don't have that data because there's no means for people to register and all that. So GigX Global is one platform where professionals can find the right kind of projects for them to do and match it with a client or a company that needs their skills. And also a place where then we extract those kind of data and sort of see, these are the kind of professionals, these are the kind of profiles that do gig work. People in the healthcare sector, people in the services sector, professional services, advisory work, and then ICT, the sectors that are driving the gig economy
Right.
for professionals.
According to the Department of Statistics in 2017, there were
Yeah.
about 765,000 people who were self-employed,
Yes.
not necessarily gig economy.
Yeah.
Do you say that the numbers or the percentage can be a bit higher now?
It is higher,
Yeah.
actually. It is higher. Because the people who are on gig economy, they, like I said earlier, they don't have a means to actually register officially. So we don't know
Right.
how many out there. So when we looked at the data, we think it's at least 2 times or 3 times higher than the figure that's quoted by
pretty
the
big.
Department of Statistics.
Yeah. So, from a branding perspective, what are the value opportunities for
Yeah.
companies to employ gig economy workers to achieve their goals, aside from just the delivery aspect of it?
Yeah, the delivery aspect, the cost efficiency aspect as well.
Okay.
Because companies are now moving towards a more agile workforce. That means they have X number of people who are permanent because they run the operations, and they have another group of people who do this kind of project type work. So the branding for companies is that companies who actually have an agile workforce, they are progressive in the way they look at the talent.
Right.
Because they, extract or sort of link with the talent that really fits the need of the company. Because
Right.
sometimes, or in the old ways, you put somebody in a role that person
Right.
maybe has got the qualification, but really don't really have the passion
Right.
for it. Sometimes the talent is a hit
Yeah.
and miss.
So it's about
So,
then the companies also can come across as very modern, very
yeah, you
agile,
have to be.
and also very appealing companies,
Of
especially
course.
for the younger generation. On that point, according to the Oxford Internet Institute,
Yep.
the top 3 online labour sectors in Malaysia were firstly creative and multimedia,
Yep,
writing and translation,
sure.
and software development and technology.
Yeah.
My question is, are Malaysian companies ready to engage with these professionals or high value talent and pay them appropriately?
Yeah, some companies are ready.
Okay.
It's about putting the profile of the talent and really showing the breadth of what the talent can do, right? And traditional ways of interviewing your talent and all that is really flawed.
Right.
So what we have on our platform, GigX Global, is a component where people do profiling.
Right.
So profiling is very important because beyond the CVs that you have, it's actually what are the intrinsic value that you bring to the company.
Interesting.
What can you do that's going to make a difference to the company, right? So people now need to have that, so that then there is, a lot of purpose that that the company engages the talent with.
Right.
And you unlock the right values and the right skills.
Right. So
And the passion.
right, and we've talked about industry and talking about how industry should be supportive of this new economy.
Yeah.
But what about the gig workers themselves?
Yeah.
How can they brand themselves better to stand out?
I think we have to start with the fundamentals. Packaging, for lack of a better word, of the talent and what kind of skills that you bring. That gets buried in old ways of how you write your CV, for heaven's sakes.
Right.
Now people don't even look at CVs anymore.
Right.
People look at how you carry yourself, how you speak and all that. And they have all sorts of tools. Right now it's video CVs and people just do a 3-minute clip and then that's it.
Yeah.
Right. So then the personality and the intrinsic nature of that person comes out. So we have to look at how then you as a talent market yourself and sort of brand yourself in a very different way now.
Right.
It's not about just your qualifications and what you have,
Right.
but how you are going to make a difference
Right.
to the company.
And from your experience working with talent, especially Malaysian talent, one of the big challenges is that our talent are usually not as proactive or
Yeah.
occasionally a bit docile.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how this is looking? Everyone kind of
Yeah.
expects the job to fall on their laps pretty much.
I know.
What are your thoughts on this and what can
Because
we do
now
about
the
it?
competition is so high,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Everybody has a degree. Everybody has the same level of qualifications. Now you don't even ask whether you know how to use Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
It's a given. But what do you do beyond that? So you have to really articulate that very well And there are a lot of coaches now, business coaches, that help talent to actually do that, because sometimes you have it in you, but you just don't know how to bring it out. So the
But
marketing aspect, kan?
But would you say our talents are, for lack of a better word, too manja?
No, I think we are very timid, and we're too polite. We don't shout out the fact that, hey, I'm good at this thing, right? You expect your boss to uncover it, sit and talk to you after many hours, then see it. So we have to be more assertive, and take control of what we want out of that experience, and show that you have these kind of skills that are unique, or even something that the company needs.
Shireen, I like your positivity for Malaysian youth. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Marketing Communications. Today we're discussing global and local opportunities for Malaysia's gig economy. With me is Shireen Dato' Abdul Ghani, the co-founder and CEO of GigX Global. Just before the break, we're talking about how you are very positive about Malaysian youth, because they are mindful of the need to want to get jobs. Therefore, they'll put themselves out there. They'll actually put in the effort. But the interesting thing about the gig economy is it's not just about them, is it? It is global competition, meaning a Malaysian company can find a gig economy worker anywhere else in the world, and perhaps with the situation currently ongoing, they're more minded to as well. My question is, there's an article in The Atlantic where it said that this had actually the effect of driving down service prices, because I know I can hire anyone from anywhere, basically whoever is willing to take the job for the cheapest amount possible. So it's good for businesses, lower cost, but it's bad for the gig worker. How do we address this?
So I will speak on GigX Global and what we do.
Sure.
So besides, like I said, how you brand yourself on the platform, there's also other elements where I bring back the point about profiling. So you profile yourself and sort of showcase the kind of unique attributes that you have. The other thing that you need to think about is also your own self-development. So on the platform, we also have various kind of components that prepares the gig talent to brand and market themselves, so that then the fee that they put up will be something that is commensurate to who they are and what kind of expertise they bring, and and matches the price points, or at least the fee structure that companies have. So career coaching is there. We look at profiling. We look at also the the total wellness, because sometimes people on gig economy, they are running between gigs. They forget about healthcare. They forget about mental health and all that. So the platform provides those kind of services.
That's pretty cool. So it's quite comprehensive. Very comprehensive.
So it's very comprehensive, because we are mindful about what the talent needs. We're mindful about what the company wants. So you have to look at that in totality.
But how do you make sure that exploitation doesn't happen, considering that companies can hire from anywhere and say this guy will do it for 10% cheaper, you're too expensive? How do you? Is there a way to do that?
So that's where then the back end of the platform sort of kicks in, because there is an administrator that sort of levels the playing field a little bit, and the matching happens, and then when the talent, when the company posts the gig, and there is a talent that fits it, there will be this matching algorithm, and then it will show your top 5 talent that has the right skills and all that. So we moderate in that way, and then it's a free market anyway. It's a buyer-seller kind of thing, But there is a sort of threshold that we advise companies to look at, and then these are professional talents with very deep skills and expertise. So the fee structure and all that
so
is
there's
something
also kind of like a market demand that
advocate.
levels it.
Yeah.
Speaking of leveling the playing field,
Yeah.
I'd like to move on and say we recently celebrated International Women's Day.
Yes, of course.
So happy International Women's Day to
Thank you.
I'd like to ask, how does the gig economy, including the digital economy, enhance women participation in the workforce?
It's fantastic because the gig economy allows the women who are professionals to also get engaged in work in the economy, gig or otherwise, they're still engaged in the economy,
Right.
and the flexibility. So that means the mom or the woman who are not in traditional work environments can still contribute her expertise.
Right.
Between the time that she has
Juggling everything else.
Right? So and it's fantastic because, like you said, it levels the playing field. It's about the talent and the skills that you have. It doesn't really matter what gender you are.
Right.
So for women who are out of the workforce who wants to get in, they do the gig economy work because that builds a portfolio of things that they can do.
Right.
And then when they enter the workforce, people say, "Oh, you've done A, B, C, D, E. You've done good projects with these clients."
Right.
So then, if they are ready to go into the formal work environment, they have something on their profiles.
And I suppose the wonderful thing is that in a gig economy, you look at the skill sets and what the person brings to the table, as opposed to necessarily all the other, I suppose, unnecessary stuff that shouldn't be a factor when you give someone a job.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, in terms of enabling, what are your thoughts on what the government is currently doing with regards to empowering gig workers? Because there's a lot of things are happening in this space. There's also discussions about whether or not they should be treated as workers or contractors, and all things. Ultimately, which goes to the welfare and also the empowerment of the sector. What are your thoughts?
I'm glad you brought up that point because the welfare of people in the gig economy can be neglected because you are an independent person. You don't really have insurance. You don't really have the social safety nets. Although our pension fund EPF has got the voluntary contribution and all that, the awareness is not quite there. So I think government needs to recognize that people work in this gig economy. They're contributing to the economy, right? So how do you then provide the right kind of support and services for them? So on our platform, GigX Global, we actually have partnerships of people who provide credit facilities.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
People who are, we're talking to pension funds.
Pension fund globally?
Yeah. It has to be global, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
People will provide insurance for independent workers.
Okay.
So it's very innovative in the tech space. A lot of companies are doing these things. So we're bringing it together into the marketplace. Then at the very least, the platform provides that. And government needs to look at the holistic policy on how to address some of the challenges.
Right. As you know, we've had a couple of new ministers sworn in recently.
Yes, of course.
What would your advice to them be with regards to the gig economy? And I've got about 1 minute left, so what would your advice to them be?
I think they have to recognize and understand that people in the gig economy, like I said, contributes to the economy. So we need to think of a framework, we need to think of a policy that is inclusive, that brings the gig economy talent into the mainstream. It doesn't really matter whether they're full-time or they're working part-time. They're still contributing.
Right. Shireen, thank you very much. That's all the time we have today, and for sharing your thoughts about the gig economy.
Thank you.
And it was quite an enlightening discussion, so thanks for your time.
Thank you
And
very
for those
much.
of you at home, thank you for joining us. Until next week, same time, same place. I'm Daniel Rahman, and this is Marcomm. Take care.